What do y'all think? Good morning. Look, it's Snoopy. I got me a Snoopy robe, y'all. Last night I had it hanging over the chair, and I looked over from my chair and I saw Tylee sitting under the chair, and she was under the robe that was hanging over, and I had to snap a photo of it. It was so cute. I've always loved Peanuts, so I got me a Snoopy robe, y'all. Look, isn't it cute? It's got Snoopy. He's doing all the cute stuff. When am I going to grow up, y'all? When I was a little girl, I had Snoopy Peanuts sheets on my twin bed, and the theme of it was Snoopy's doghouse, and he was sitting on top of it, and all the Peanuts characters were at the bottom, and then it said, "Happiness is being one of the gang." And I live by that. We are a gang, aren't we? We're a good gang. Good morning, Vixtex. Good morning, Elba Lopez. Good morning, Christina Hill and Kathy Gregg and Fancy Nancy. Yes, Fancy Nancy. I don't much care about the puppy thing here, but I do love the Snoopy stuff. I thought it was cute. Good morning, Melissa Becks. Good morning, Nicole. So anyway, it was very cold last night. We did get little flurries here. They're calling for more snow at the beginning of the week. I read in the comments, some of y'all said that y'all already had snow and all of that. Winter is here, right? Good morning, Christina Hill. Good morning, Kim Top. So anyway, I really learned a lot last night on Cresha K. Easton's live stream at Difficult Research. She pulled something out of there that had me mesmerized. It was old, pretty much like, Mark Means was trying to motion to get all of this information. And what it was, and it started to dawn on me, is that he was giving everybody clues about the evidence that he knew about, and he was very specific about it. And so my mind got, the wheels in there started rolling, and I tried to, in the comments, tell Donna, hey, we need somebody to put this stuff out on a spreadsheet. And I tried explaining it because there's an opportunity there to cover things that could very well come up in Chad Daybell's trial. And how my little puny mind kind of thought would be a good way to figure that out is to take all that information, look at it and say, okay, Mark Means is asking for this. Was this brought out in Lori's trial? Okay? Put those things that we knew that were in Lori's trial aside and look at the other stuff. Now, let me just say this. Maybe the other stuff isn't going to be anything. Maybe it's not something that would come up in Chad's trial. It didn't come up in Lori's, right? But then I thought, what if? Because remember, y'all, it was last year? Oh, John Pryor said, our case is going to be different than Lori's, right? And obviously it will, because you got that damn asshole on trial, and he is not the hussy, right? But if there is a possibility that any of that's weeded out, that maybe we knew about it, maybe we didn't. There were some surprises last night on things that I was like, wow, they had that in evidence, because Mark Means would not ask in specificity about something unless he knew about it. Let me give you an example. He talks about a journal, right? He doesn't say, he says in it, he says, it doesn't have a name of who the journal is, right? Well, it popped into my mind, is that Zulima's journal? Remember where they had her on the stand and there was a picture she drew of some stupid way that the spirits work or something like that. What if that journal was Zulima's journal? Because we thought, well, at one time when they did this, the arrest, not the arrest warrant, but the subpoena at Chad's, they talked about they collected journals. I'm like, what if that's Tammy's, right? But there was no journal from Tammy that was brought out in Hussey's trial, but there was a journal that Zulima had. So if that's the case, then you put that aside and go on to the next specific thing that Mark Means wants, and then you look at what you've got left over, and you say, we know none of this was in Lori's trial. Can we run any of this down? Do we know any of it, where it could have come from? Build an environment, mostly of theory and hypothesis, around it. And so I asked Donna, I was like, Donna, you got to do a spreadsheet. Because I said, we need a genius who does spreadsheets. And then I said, Cresha, because I know she does all this really stuff in her research. Donna says, I have not gotten the document from Cresha. I will get it on it as soon as I get it. And I know you would, Donna Donald. And you said, I'll get it, and I'll do what I can do, and I'll get it to you. Well, it really wasn't for me. It was for Cresha. Because if she sends it to me, I'm going to do what I can do with it. There's just so many things in that she spoke last night, and I highly recommend anyone that didn't watch last night's live stream. She goes down word for word, and some of it I had never heard before. Could it have been that at the time as she spoke about it, that during that time when all that came out, she was overloaded with trauma and emotion and really couldn't bear down on it? For her, I'm sure. For me, I never heard of it. I didn't even know it existed. Again, y'all, I've said this time and time again. I don't know it all. There's things that I'm still learning today. So, yes, would be a good idea for old KJ to go back, maybe scroll down all of those documents that Justin Lum released, maybe look on Reddit, look on Annie Cushion, other sources of information and see, did you hear about this, KJ? I'm hoping that I can do something with that if she does send it. But even if she doesn't send it to me, which she said she would, but even if she doesn't, I know she'll take that info. She'll look at that stuff. It ain't just about, okay, here it is, that's all we're going to say. I know she could make a lot of good content from it. And I hope she'll take me up on that, because I'd love to hear her take on it. Donna Donald says, do you have the 1,000-page PDF of Arizona evidence? Well, no, I don't, Donna, because I'm not covering Lori's trial. If you're talking about as it relates to what has already happened in Idaho or what is going to happen in Idaho, I definitely, if Cresha sends me something and says, here's something I'm researching for the upcoming whenever Lori gets tried in Arizona, would you help me? Send me something back that's more readable, or some kind of narrative or storyline or something that can stay true. I'd be more than happy to do that. Donna, you're saying it has a lot of details that enlighten Idaho. Okay. Well, no, I don't have that, Donna. I don't have it. Good morning, Vicki McNutt. So anyway, I made an E for effort, just an effort to release a pre-record yesterday at the beginning of Chad's alibi for September 8th. And I knew it wasn't going to be complete. It was all laid out there and demonstrated by me in my perspective, in the way that I see things. And I'd gotten comments about, well, didn't Chad, maybe you're wrong about, well, they didn't say maybe you're wrong, but they were trying to say, I thought Chad told Tammy he was going to write at BYU so that he could go to the track and walk around the track with Lori. I don't know about that, but on page 6, Detective Ron Ball does say, he puts in his probable cause affidavit where Chad texts Lori after the raccoon text and says, I'm going to write at BYU. I'm going to take a shower and I'm going to go write at BYU. And then a couple hours later, she says, that's great. And then when she does that, he says, I'm back now. So maybe he did. Maybe that was his go-to excuse so he could get with his hooker. But he did say that. It was in relation, just minutes from his raccoon text. And what I was trying to bring out is did he go to BYU? If he didn't go to BYU and there's no evidence that he was there, how would John Pryor say, well, he was at BYU in the alibi or anything else for that matter? He wouldn't be able to prove that other than, what, if Chad took the stand, which I highly doubt, unless they could bring someone in who would just flat out lie and say, yeah, I saw him at BYU. What my whole point in all of that is I think Chad stayed home all that day on that Monday, September 8th, to finish things up. There is no way, y'all, no way that they could have done everything they did to Tylee, burned her, buried her, and all of that in just 2+ hours that Alex was on the property. It's impossible. He did not have her grave pre-dug like he had JJ's. And I've got this sticking point that I'm running my head up against, hitting my head up against the wall. I'm all for everyone's theories and hypotheses. Who am I? We might never know, right? So this sticking point that I've got is whether or not Tylee was shot or not. And really, what does it matter? She was murdered, but I'm trying to fill in the blanks, right? I brought up last night about what if Alex murdered Tylee, Lori murdered JJ, and Chad murdered Tammy. That way they would equally all have blood on their hands, but then they have blood on their hands anyway because of the conspiratorial nature, but what if this was their way of some sick, twisted bonding? Each one of us have to do it in order to feel okay with each other, that we're this divine bullshit, whatever. But then I thought, well, would Chad and Lori actually hands-on murder? And we know Chad is charged with Tammy's murder. And from what I believe, and many of y'all believe, he actually murdered Tammy. Would Chad and Lori want Alex to murder the kids so that they don't have to have their hands dirty in that? Lori gets her protector to do it. And Chad's already filled Alex's head full of crap, crying in his blessed, oh, Alex, all that stuff. Maybe, that is something. And this whole sticking point about Tylee getting shot, y'all. The bottom line is you'd have to really say that it was their plan, whether Tylee was drugged and was unconscious and Alex took her out there, but they took her in the barn and shot her or whatever. They are risking it, y'all. They're in the daytime, that noise of the shot. And really, y'all, if there wasn't that neighbor that said they heard a shot that day, would anybody even think that Tylee had been shot? So if in fact that really did happen and there was a shot and Tylee didn't get shot, that would draw attention. So I just myself don't believe that Tylee was shot, y'all. I just don't. I believe overnight on the 8th into the 9th, they drugged Tylee, did what they had to do to incapacitate her, and Alex brought her out there to the east side of the barn, and she was either dead or, something like that. They were going to be sneaky and they were going to be quiet. It was daytime. They weren't absolutely, I just don't see them risking that. shooting someone, between 9 and 11 in the morning out at Chad's, especially if someone's in the house, if Garth's in the house, you want to take that risk of that sound of that shot? Cindy Bullock says, I don't believe she was shot either. Hello, long gray mare. So, there are people on this channel and on other comments, whether it's Kresha or others, that seem to think that Tylee was shot. And in my view, I just don't believe that. But I'm always like, well, whatever your theory or hypothesis is, follow it. Follow through that with your research and analysis. Follow through it. If you want to add that in there, that's your own business. I can respect that. Again, who am I? And I don't have the answers. We will never know, y'all. It's just to try to say, okay, we don't have the factual evidence that Tylee was shot. There has been no ballistic, or they never found shell casings or anything like that. They didn't find any bullets in the fire pit. They didn't find it in the grave. We know they came out there a second time after the first search warrant at Chad's and did metal detectors. They never found anything out there. And I believe that when they were checking with the metal detectors out front of Chad's, that was in their desire to find out about whether Alex, when he shot at Tammy on October 9th, that's the area they were looking at. I don't know if they went into the backyard and used the metal detector back there. I believe they were out there with that search warrant and the metal detectors in the front of Chad's house, specifically about the October 9th incident, to see if they could find any shell casings or bullets or anything like that. Yes, they did, Cindy Bullock. They did find blood on the pick and shovel. But it was such a small amount. And I think one of y'all, and you know who you are, I apologize, I can't remember, said, well, Chad had a lot of time to clean those tools and all of this and that. But think about it like this, y'all. What is the irony of that blood being found in the eye of that pickaxe? It's devastating. Fancy Nancy says, I rewatched a Dr. Phil where he was interviewing Kobe. He asked Kobe, what did your mom have that was heavy enough for a man of Chad's size have over while carrying from the storage room? Yeah, that was the Jeep seat. That's what that was, because when everyone initially saw that, they thought, is that a body? I think it was Kay Woodcock. She did an interview with Larry, and she was saying when we first saw that, it traumatized us, because we were like, is that a body? Yeah, Fancy Nancy, I'll have to look at that. I do know that Kobe did say that by September 28th, he started getting suspicious about the text coming from Lori. Now that we know it's from Lori now, but Lori was pretending to be Tylee. But I want to bring this to y'all's attention because I wanted to flesh it out a little bit, because I've not really covered it, and I kind of touched on it in that pre-record, and those are those Venmo transfers. And the information I got was from, from a Freedom of Information Act document. And on the document, this is what Kobe had given the police, and it's redacted out the amounts and who actually sent it. But it has the dates. And I thought, okay, let me see what I can do with this. And it came out that, and I think it was, maybe someone else has found this out in their own mind too, and maybe it's been reported on, that in the month of September, there were 4 transactions. 2 of them was on the 8th and 10th, which is what? That's around right there where Tylee was murdered. And then again on the 22nd and 23rd, which was when JJ was murdered, right? So I don't believe in coincidences. And I thought, well, is there a pattern from what Kobe's turned in this Freedom of Information document? Is there anything that lines up with that? So I got to looking at it. And it goes all the way back to April. It goes from April to December of 2019. In April, and let's just set this up, that Kobe was always used to getting money from, I believe it's the Joe Ryan stuff, the money from that. Tylee was given control of it at some point, or she had control of it. It was brought out in Lori's trial that, she was like any teenager. She paid her Jeep payment, her insurance. She bought fast food and things that a normal teenager would do with that money. But it goes back from April to December of 2019. And in April, there were 6 transfers. And again, I don't know if this was transferred to Kobe, those 6 transfers in April, from Lori or Tylee, but common sense says that if it's brought out in the trial that Tylee was the one that would transfer that to Kobe and that she had control of it, I am assuming that April of 2019, 6 transfers from Tylee to Kobe. And I don't know the amounts. And I'm like, why so many transfers? Why can't you just give them Kobe one transfer a month? Why does it got to be 6? But then in May, there's 7 transfers to Kobe. In June, it slows down. And maybe the transfers, they do slow down, but maybe they're still around the same amount. They've just broken it up in 3 instead of 7, because in June, there's 3 transfers. This will interest y'all. In July, the month that Charles Vallow was murdered, there were absolutely no transfers of money from Tylee to Kobe. So what can I say to that? Well, he was murdered on the 11th. That's a week and a few days before he's murdered. They had a lot of situation going on because from March? Was it February, March? Lori had left Charles, but the transfers seemed to still exist. But by July, just a theory, there was no transfers because at that time, a lot of stuff was going on, including the murder of Charles, and maybe Kobe just backed off about needing the money because, hey, my stepfather has been, killed. And, what do y'all think? Why do you think that Kobe did not get any transfers in the month of July of 2019? It's just, to me, it's like, well, Charles was murdered, or they were getting ready to murder Charles. They were too busy. Did Kobe request a Venmo transfer before Charles was murdered and they just didn't give it to him? I don't know. So then from July, you got August, which is 3 transfers. September, we already discussed that. Those 4 transfers were around the times that the children were murdered. But this is very interesting, y'all. After the children were murdered, they're getting ready to, with their new plan of Brandon Boudreaux. They're also in the middle of trying to figure out how they're going to murder Tammy, shoot at her on the 9th, and finally Chad do the deal on the 19th. In October, from all that year from April, there are 10 transfers to Kobe. 10 of them. Were they little itty bitty amounts and they had to spread them out 10 transfers? Or was she trying to really keep Kobe at bay and give him 10 from April it was only 6, then May 7, then June 3, then in July no transfers. August there were 3. September, there were 4 transfers. October were 10. November, we all remember what November, the child welfare check, Lori and Chad take off. Does that stop the transfers? No, there were 9 transfers to Kobe. And then in December, when Chad and Lori and this are off in Hawaii, starting their new stupid James and Elena crap with the lays and everything. In December, when everyone's looking for the children, Lori transfers 3 transfers. So it's just interesting. It's almost like October, November were the most transfers that maybe she's trying to appease her own narcissistic conscience about things. Or maybe this is just a way to keep Kobe at bay. And then in December, 3 transfers of money to Kobe. And let's just keep in mind, September 8th, it just looks to me that Tylee actually did transfer that money through Lori's account. I mean, Tylee didn't do it. Lori did it on the 8th from her account after Lori found out that Tylee sent the text, Mom's in control of my money. But then she turns around on the 10th and it comes from Tylee's account. And so from then on, because we don't know and it's redacted, during all this time from September down to December, was Kobe under the impression that Tylee was sending these transfers, or what? Did Lori go back to transferring it from her account? Liza Joe and NF Mom seem to think this might be hush money. I don't know, y'all. That would be a stretch. Kobe looks so freaking devastated. You heard his jail phone call. There was an inkling in that he knew anything. You would have had to believe that Kobe was putting on an act when he called his mom in the jail. And she didn't let on that. I mean, she could have been on that jail phone call knowing that Kobe knew and she'd given him much money. And here he is pretending. This is just speculation, y'all. She would have let him in on something. Something that would have hinted that she's like, oh yeah, Kobe, I know you're sitting here on this recorded call pretending. You know, if anybody wants to see that in action, all you have to do is listen to Melanie Gibb talking to Lori. You know, the secret recording there. Melanie Gibb knew that Lori and Chad were not going to say to Melanie Gibb on that secret recording, hey, we know you know everything. Why are you talking this way? Because what would happen then? If they say that, then that implicates them. That they know what happened. And on top of it all, that they know that Melanie Gibb knows. That they all know. So, if you want a demonstration of someone keeping quiet, it would be Melanie Gibb. It would be Zulema in her first police interview. That's a good question, Gene Anthony. Why the money to Kobe? Was he working? Was he being paid off? Well, Gene Anthony, I think Tylee and Kobe felt like they were entitled to that money. Tylee was in control of it for a long time. Lori, maybe this was something Lori always did for Kobe, and he just, number one, he felt entitled to that Social Security money from Joe Ryan, and number two, he was just used to getting it all the time. And, you know, who am I as a parent to say this, you know, because everyone's parenting is different, but it's been my experience that if I try to coddle my kids too much, that is me demonstrating that I don't have enough faith in them to figure it out, or even fall on their face figuring it out. You got to fall on your face to figure it out. What I'm saying is that, you know, you keep giving money to your adult child, I understand emergency situations, but when the emergencies continue to happen over and over and over again, at some point you've got to ask yourself, is this helping them or hurting them? Because I don't know about y'all, but there were times in my life where there wasn't anybody there to give me money. And I had to suck it up and find a way. And that's life. That's being what? Only the strong survive. So, if my kids, their ages 24, 30, and 32 now, since October, I mean, if they needed help in an emergency situation, I would absolutely be there for them. But I know the difference between an emergency. I've got enough maturity to know, is an emergency, they got up to their kneecaps in some bullshit, whatever, and so I'm going to bail them out of that? No. If it's an emergency where I know they're doing the best they know how to do, they're trying to come up with a way to help them get their car fixed or something like that, yes, I would help, but I would want them to pay me back, and they have. That's true, Donna Donald. Kobe was asking weekly. These are like 45 or 48 transfers in the year of 2019. And, that's a lot. I mean, for all we know, each transfer could have been, $20? Or it could have been way more than that. We don't know the amounts, but just the transfers themselves, I mean, it just looks like Kobe he got used to it. He got used to it. Kim Top says Kobe took his stepdad's watches, car, etc., knowing it should have gone to Charles's real sons. They got nothing. Well, Kim Top, anytime, I mean, whether it's a terrible, tragic situation like this, but with any time when anybody dies, it just seems like everybody backstabs everybody else. I mean, my mother passes, and I've got siblings that I would have never thought would have done me the way they have, but then again, I don't want to go into it. Yeah, JoJo, when you talk about the amounts, the Freedom of Information Act that I'm sure Annie Cushing's referring to does not have the amounts. I have not found that. I went and looked for it after I got this one offline. I'm like, okay, I've got the dates. I've got the month. I've got how many transfers they were in each month, but it won't say who sent the transfer, whether it was Lori or Tylee, and it won't tell me the amounts. I don't know, JoJo, I don't know how Venmo would give her the amounts because that's protected information. I don't believe that. Maybe she has, and I'm shocked. They're not going to give out that information. I don't think they would. I don't think they'd give out the amounts. But maybe she got a hold of the amounts through something that the police had. I don't know. So I looked at that and I'm like, okay, we know through this, whether it was Tylee or Lori giving Kobe money, how was Lori and them living, paying their rent? I mean, I know she stole from Charles, but only so much of that money's going to, be able to be helpful. And here she is financing Kobe. She's got all this stuff, this murderous plans going on. She's got to help Alex buy ammo. I know Alex took out a loan before he left Arizona, so he had some money. They rented 2 apartments. We've talked about this. How do these people come up with this? How are they able to afford this? She rents a storage unit. Her and Chad go to Hobby Lobby. She orders dresses. We know that she never really had much for the kids, but she had all the shit she wanted. Yeah, there's questions in here, y'all, about Tylee's remains. Debbie talks about Judge Stephen Boyce signed an order Wednesday authorizing her body to be released to her next of kin, which was Kobe Ryan. So there's the answer to that. Good morning. Love is a 4-letter word. Jax, there hasn't been anything that I've heard of. There's not been any word at all about Tylee having a memorial. And I know there are a lot of people that have a heart for these victims, but ultimately, y'all, I know some don't want to hear it, but that's a private matter for the families. And if they want to share in a memorial with people, I'm all for that. If that can help them in their grieving process, or even if they just decide to do it, that's their own business. You know, all I can do is say if something like that happened to me, and trust me when I say I'm just trying to put myself into that situation, which is it is impossible. But, you know, I had a brother who was murdered. Okay, I can look at that. If people would have been like, you know, when's the memorial or this or that, and it was people that were outside of my family, even though they were loving, caring people that really cared, it would kind of make me feel unsettled, like pushed, if that makes sense. But that's just me. I don't know about any of them. So that is following the money on that situation. And again, you have to ask the question, how much money did Chad Daybell have? And would he have been the chivalrous guy when they went into Hobby Lobby to say, oh, my queen, I'll pay for everything? Or would Lori want to show Chad, I'm on equal footing and I'm going to pay for everything? When they go to eat and have dinners or do anything like that, Chad was taken, I guess what, from his book sales? What was he, a part-time sexton? I mean, what kind of money did Chad Daybell have? I mean, Samantha Williams said it in the sentencing that, you know, how were they going to live? Chad was just this unassuming guy that didn't really have nothing. Nothing without Tammy, anyway. Hello, Mary Seidler. Donna said, it is a private matter. We will know when we need to know. And when we need to know, I don't know anything, says Donna. I don't know anything either. And like I've said before, and I think people misunderstood me and thought that I was saying something to make them feel bad. No, I'm just speaking. I'm just talking. I'm not looking at anybody. All I'm saying is, you know, how would I send a text or call Cresha and say, hey, Cresha, when are y'all going to have a memorial or a funeral? Or I would not do that. I mean, I wouldn't. Maybe someone else would. Maybe who else would do that wouldn't be out of insensibility or anything like that. Maybe it's just pure, just earnest love and, you know. But for me, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I looked it up. 5,940 and 29 Venmo transactions is the title of the video. It was posted 5 months ago, says JoJo. Okay. Well, there you go. Thank you for letting us know. There's just a lot. There's a wealth of information. And let me just repeat this. If you want something new that has not really been looked at, you need to go back to last night's live stream. I don't even think Cresha realizes the importance of what she was talking about there on that document of Mark Means. There is a lot of things that I have not heard. It'd be different if it's like, oh, just one or two I hadn't heard. There's a lot. And maybe back then, if I would have saw it, you know, I could have done something with it. But I didn't even know it existed. Donna Donald says the victims' families are up to their eyeballs in family and personal friends. It is very overwhelming for them. That's right. Yep. I believe it. I believe it. Another thing that I wanted to bring up before I close today is even though I did a pre-record on September 8th, Chad's alibi, don't know that I really fleshed too much out, but I wanted to give everybody a chance to hear what I could fill in terms of theory or even fact, and then leave it in your hands to maybe, oh, I know something that KJ didn't say. I can fill that in there. You know what I'm saying? But I did not emphasize the days before that September 8th date that was brought out in Lori's trial. And that was, the whole thing about Alex sending Lori a text saying, too many kids. And he was basically letting her know about that. And Lori tells him, we're trying to figure out, she's saying we, her and Chad, she said, we are trying to figure out how to eliminate them completely. She isn't saying to Alex, hey, Alex, you and I need to figure out how to eliminate them quickly. So this whole idea that it was Lori and Alex that did this to the children alone and then Chad just kind of helped along with that. Again, I've always said that Chad and Lori conspired to do all these things, which to me is murder. To conspire to do something and it gets done, whether it's by them or Alex, they're just as guilty. And not just legally. I'm talking about morally, ethically, and all that. Some would say that I am putting too much on Alex and not really looking at Lori and Chad in terms of their culpability in it. I've never said Alex had more culpability than Chad and Lori. In fact, I've said the opposite. Alex would have never done any of this had it not been for Lori and Chad. So, whether you believe that Lori actually hands-on murdered, whether Chad actually hands-on murdered, I really believe Alex hands-on murdered. I don't know of a single person that's going to say, I don't think Alex did any of the hands-on murder. I think Lori and Chad did it. If that's their position, I can respect that, but the evidence in Lori's trial does not at all lend to that at all. It looks to me as if Alex did the heavy lifting. Right, Dodging Bullets. They are all guilty. And so if I back up and try to get a little specific and make statements such as, well, Chad has been charged with murdering Tammy, hands-on. Could Alex have hands-on murdered Tylee and Lori hands-on murdered JJ? That's not a position I'm taking. I am throwing the questions out there. Because ultimately it comes down to these two questions. Number one, who did the hands-on? Number two, in terms of Tylee, was she shot? Those are two things that I really appreciate any feedback on or anything that we could find out in Chad's trial, because ultimately, y'all, those two questions were never really answered in Lori's trial. You saw the conspiracy of murder. That was right in front of your face, the whole trial. But it was never really established from the state who actually did what, especially when they're bringing up the hair on the tape of JJ. That could be a healthy inference that it was Lori that murdered JJ, because her hair was in that, even though, this whole thing about, well, they were in the apartments and it could have transferred. Well, there was no hair of Alex Cox. There was no hair of Chad Daybell. So, no evidence in a trial is going to be 100% complete. You get what you get. in evidence. Then a jury has to make healthy inferences of it. They have to look and see, what they see. The one who drove the getaway car is just as guilty as the one who robbed the bank. Exactly, NF Mom. And because I bring up and try to break down a little bit who could have done what, does not mean that if I say something about Lori that I am saying that Alex and Chad are less culpable. I'm not saying that. And some people take it that way, and they have a right to take anything any way they want to take it. But I'm sitting here telling you that the bottom line is whoever did what, which is something I am interested in, you put that aside, I think they're all guilty equally, right? That's my stand. I don't think I've ever veered from that. Well, absolutely, Eric Jasper. Absolutely, because Alex is dead. The information that could have been gleaned up, but then let's stop. I mean, say Alex didn't die, and they ended up arresting him and Lori and Chad, and now, this whole situation. Does anyone believe Alex would have told anybody anything? Would Alex have, if he did share anything or got his attorney, his defense attorney, to have a certain alibi in a situation and where Alex was and all that he wouldn't be protecting his hussy sister, his hooker sister? I mean, I'll throw this out here. If Alex was alive today and he was charged just as Lori and Chad are, well, Lori's convicted now, but also, he's charged in Arizona and Lori's and all that. Y'all, make no mistake, Alex would absolutely, and this is just an opinion, he would blame Chad and he would protect his sister. And he would never, I don't think Alex Cox would ever confess to doing anything. Yeah, Jax, that is a good theory. That is a really good theory from what the evidence that we know, that Alex did kill Tylee in his garage. I don't know about this covering in plastic, but they did find a creepy mask was found in the garage. But when I say I don't know about this plastic, did anybody hear anything in Lori's trial about blood evidence from Alex Cox's apartment or Lori's apartment? There was never anything. It was the only DNA evidence was out at Chad Daybell's. The only. He's the only one, says Eric, I think someone could have gotten through to, and he would have seen he was had. Well, this goes back, Eric, to Zulema, whether you want to believe anything that damn woman says. The volcano casting witch. She tries to say that Alex says, after everything I've done for them, look how they're not calling me back, or they've run off or whatever. And Alex saying that, either I'm a man of God or I'm not. Well, if he really 100% believed it, then why is he even asking that rhetorical question? If that, in fact, is what he said to Zulema, either I'm a man of God or I'm not. Why ain't he saying, I am a man of God, and that's that? Right, Miss DMC. We were all, we knew back before Lori's trial, before the cases were split, when all that came out about the pickaxe and on the duct tape, we didn't know the answers of, it just freaked us all out because we knew it had to do with the kids. We just wasn't sure what it was. The bottom line is I didn't take a step back to say, is this all they have in blood evidence? Because nothing else is being discussed. Nothing else was brought out in Lori's trial about blood evidence. I mean, how does someone do what they did to Tylee They didn't do that on the fire pit, which would explain, oh, well, the reason there's no blood evidence is because the fire burned it up. They had to have done what they did to her either in Chad's shed or what Jack says, perhaps that's what happened with Alex in his garage. Or it could have been Lori's garage. Who knows? That's a very, very interesting point, Donna. And again, this is exactly why this is an open channel. This channel isn't for everyone, but everyone is welcome. I look for these types of comments. If Chad and Lori believed Alex was a man of God, Alex would have visited like JJ and Tylee with Lori. Now, explain to me, Donna, which that's brilliant. Lori brings out about Tylee. Lori brings out about JJ in her sentencing, her stupid crap that she come up with. She doesn't say anything about Chad. She says nothing about her brother. She does say, I'm friends with Tammy. So the victims she brings up, she doesn't bring, nothing is ever brought up. Will Alex be brought up in Chad's trial? It's a good possibility because John Pryor is going to throw everything at it. Any kind of just anything that could possibly look like reasonable doubt, John Pryor will do. The X-File says, I think great guilt hit Alex and he committed suicide. Used the same drug that was used on Tammy. Well, that's a good theory there, X-Files, but how about this? Alex was a sick, twisted bastard. How about that? Look what he did. And then he all of a sudden gets a conscience? Melanie Gibbs says, I think Alex, he was like I think his heart was broken when she had her stupid, backwards ass, Nate-eating interview. Alex had no conscience to do what he did. Pure and simple. And if someone wants to say, well, KJ, he probably had a conscience. He just really believed his sister and Chad. And then when he figured out that that wasn't true, if he had a conscience, if he had a real conscience, real compassion, real empathy and all of that, it wouldn't have made a damn bit of difference what Chad and Lori told him about the children being zombies or Tammy being Viola. He would have took a step back. Just as I've said before, Lori at any time when Chad and her were discussing the kids being possessed or any of that, she could have said, no, Chad, I got my own revelation. The kids are fine. At any time, Alex could have told Chad and Lori, you know what? I can't do this. I love my niece and nephew. And I'm not going to do this to Tammy. She's innocent. He could have done any of that. He's sick. He's twisted. And that's just my view. I don't think Alex Cox had a conscience at all to do what he did. Let's just not forget, and I hate to bring it up, but I just want to bring the point home. That pathologist in Lori's trial said it wasn't signs of dismemberment, but it did show that a pickaxe was taken up like this and shoved down into the torso of Tylee. And people want to say, well, that could have been Chad Daybell. Well, how about this? Alex Cox was there. He brought Tylee over there. He's evil. He's diabolical. Chad, Lori, Alex, the rest of these cult members, they have no conscience. If they had conscience, Melanie Gibb would have come clean from the get-go. Melanie Gibb would have said, you know, I believed it. I thought we were doing good. We thought it was near the end of the world, which is a crock, y'all. But she has covered herself good. She absolutely does. She is a danger to society, in my view. Melanie Gibb, Zulema, woman's gonna, for all we know right now, Zulema Pastedes. It isn't about chips and salsa for that damn woman. It's about she's so damn weak-minded that she wants to get out here and believe something else that could lead to more murder, in my view. If they can believe that crap, Lord have mercy, we're going to see it on the 5 o'clock news down the road. Sharon McCalvich says Alex would rather take easy out instead of trial and death penalty. Well, Sharon, the Rays on here have known me from the get-go when I was just falling on my face, and I still do, but over and over again when I first opened this open channel. And everybody laughed at me when I said, it was Alex must have done the EpiPen. And then I realized when the nurses educated me, there were nurses that said, no, KJ, couldn't have been that. I've always said that Alex committed suicide. But I don't think Alex committed suicide because it pierced his heart. I mean, I think he did it because he didn't want to go to prison. That's what I think. And down to the very end of it, y'all, before Alex died, did he turn on Chad and Lori and say, Chad and Lori, y'all fooled me. I'm so upset with y'all. No, he, at the bitter end, before his death, there's evidence of them covering up for Chad and Lori, Zulema and Alex, doing all of that. Code speak, the whole 9 yards. Alex was on board till his life ended. So there was no, had a guilty conscience, because if he'd had a guilty conscience and decided the decision was to commit suicide, I think he would have absolutely, before he did that, he would have set Lori and Chad straight about it. I do believe that. Do you think he was just going to go off? Oh, I feel terrible because my sister and her asshole sling blade jerk there fooled me, so I'm just going to kill myself? No. It was in the plan. I'm sure Chad and Lori probably led him down the road about it, saying, after this life, you're going to be that man that walks the streets, saving all these children and all this and that. There's nothing left for you in this life. You were Lori's protector for all this time. It's now time, Alex, to go on to the next multiple probation. No, he was in it 100% up to the point he gave his life. And I believe in his mind, he thought he was. This was no big deal for him. Number one, he was going to get out of responsibility for his sick, twisted, nasty-ass, serial-killing crap. But he was also going to get to go on to his multiple probation. Well, Eric Jasper, wasn't there a woman here recently? I forgot her name. She got convicted of using eye drops on this woman. I forgot her name. You can look it up on YouTube. It's called the eye drop murder. There's any and all ways that he could have died. But let's just look at this common sense. When Alex died and they went to the hospital, what was Zulema doing when the police were talking to her? She was saying, I don't hardly even know them. I don't know where they're at. And if Zulema was like that, Alex was like that. Correct, Bullseye. Great point. If Alex had a conscience, he would have stopped at Joe. Very good point. Good point there. He had that violent tendencies in him way before Chad and Lori got together. I mean, he was going to murder Joe Ryan. He was going to throw Joe Ryan into the trunk of a car and murder his ass. Liza Joe says he believed he was killing zombies, freeing the children's souls. Okay. If he really 100% believed that, Liza Joe, then why kill yourself? Why kill yourself if you think you're doing a divine mission? This is God ordained. Well, it would seem to me if he really believed it 100%, that he was killing off the demon possessions and children and other people and all that, and that was his mission, then why would he have to take himself out of the world? Because his mission is to continue to kill all these demons and Hiplos and all these other things. Why leave this world that needs Alex so desperately, I cynically say? Because he didn't want to go to prison. He had no conscience. If he believed that he was ridding the world of evil and that he was some kind of protector of Lori, and this was such a divine mission and this was so important, then why take that important life that he was living on this planet and snuff it out through suicide, which I believe he did? He just wanted to go on to the next probation, I believe. Liza Joe says, he was stupid. Remember, says Susie Hutchison, remember Chad knew Alex was sick, probably committing suicide with meds, and Chad called to give him a blessing over the phone. It was part of the plan. Okay, well, there you go. Here we go, Susie. If Alex was pierced in his heart, or he had a conscience and realized what he had done was wrong, then why in the hell would he get a blessing from the people that fooled his ass? There you go. There you go. If we understood, we would be just like them. I'm glad I will never understand why. Well, there you go. I understand that, Fancy Nancy. But this again goes back to behavior. And many of us, if not all of us, have seen it time and time and time again. Evilness, diabolical people. You see enough of that in the evidence in trials and in news articles so much. Are we saying that we don't know how they behave? That we have not gotten somewhat of an education about the evilness of this world? I think I have. I see what mankind can do to one another. Their behaviors speak volumes. I think he knew the jig was about to be up, and I think he and the rest of them felt abandoned by Chad and Lori to some extent. Well, that's reasonable. That's reasonable. Well, then again, was he abandoned when Chad called him the day he killed himself? Well, Chad took the time to call up Alex and give him a blessing. Alex probably realized he was taking his own life, and Chin was talking him through it, reassuring him that he'd go to heaven. Eric, I think if that's the case, Chad was telling him, no, you got another probation on planet 496 or whatever. I see it, Alex. When you take your life, I'm giving you a blessing, you're going to be on planet 9H Zazuzazakalagoa. That's the planet over there in Crystal Solar System, whatever. Y'all, you know what I'm saying. It's not much different than Scientology, huh? They were so busy talking about, I walked during the time of Jesus. I mean, even Chad was Jesus or Jesus's brother. Which is it? They all talk about how they lived these past lives and all this and that. And yet they can't keep their asses from getting busted for murdering. Give me a break. Oh, they've got so much enlightenment. They dang done been on 5 different planets, and yet the one life they've got now, this probation, their asses are in jail. Chad facing the death penalty. Lori's away for life. All these people, they've got insight, right? Insight into stupidity, narcissism, evil, diabolical behavior. Susie said Alex had to go because Tammy was being exhumed and her murder would be revealed. Well, Susie, how would Alex know that? Let's just look at that, okay? Alex hears that Tammy's been exhumed. Well, how can Tammy's death be tied to Alex? I mean, he was only down the road from Chad's the night of her murder, right? So he's in the vicinity. Well, then again, Garth comes home that night. So Chad is at home with Tammy. Chad knows that Alex is down the road at the church. Alex makes his way down to Chad's. He walks down there. He leaves his phone in the vehicle. Chad lets him in. One of them holds her down. The other one asphyxiates her. That's true, Miss DMC. That, on the other hand, you're correct. I believe Alex did know that Melanie Gibb was going to go to police because, see, Melanie Gibb got boxed in. You see, she realized she was in up over her head. At this point, she couldn't distance herself. She knew she'd already lied to police. Yeah, Cindy, he did. On October 9th, he did. Absolutely. Shoot at Tammy. I believe that. And the state has said that. The state has brought that out in Lori's trial. No one else shot at Tammy. It was Alex. So anyway, I don't know. We never know what's going to go on these coffee times. But I will say this. In terms of following the money and everything like that, we heard no... We did not hear anything in terms of testimony from Kobe Ryan about any of the money transfers, but we did hear it with that FBI analyst who put together the summary of all the evidence in that iCloud account. It wasn't just about Kobe getting money. It was about showing this connection, y'all. To me, that's where I see it. The connection that Tylee had with Kobe in terms of Venmo transfers. It wasn't just their relationship as brother and sister. That's what connected them. We know now that Lori did pretend to be Tylee. Lori pretended to be Tylee when Summer wished Tylee a happy birthday. And Lori typed in there, happy birthday to you, Summy. Madam August Butterfly says, hello, KJ. Been thinking of you and praying for your sanity throughout this trial. Well, Madam August Butterfly, old KJ needs a prayer anytime I can get it for whatever you want to pray for me about. But in terms of sanity, maybe I'm sitting right there on the fence. Who knows, right? Could absolutely be in the deep end of life. Going through menopause and growing older and then dealing with all of this crazy stuff that basically, if people want to say, well, okay, then why you do it, KJ? Because I love Cresha and her family, and all the victims' family members do deserve justice. There is no other motivation for what I do. I do want justice through understanding. I do want to learn something. Have I learned it already and we're just continuing forward? I don't know. Maybe there's something down the road that I need to know. When something tugs at me, I'm going to go there. Miss DMC says, aren't we all on the fence? I guess it goes back to the dictionary, the definition of insanity, right? I think Cresha said it before, doing something over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, I can appreciate you, Eric, understanding that. But it is what it is. Well, I love you too, Madam August Butterfly. I love all of y'all. And the Rays on here know where I've been and where I am now. And as I look at you, I've always made it clear. I was only looking for 20 or 30 people to help me along through this case. And as I desired that and I prayed about that, the Lord does provide, and I appreciate it. I can be happy, absolutely happy with the turnout of the rays on this channel. It does my heart good. It makes my heart swell. Y'all have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of OKJ. Hell, y'all, look at me. I just got up. I'm sitting here drinking coffee like a lot of y'all. Liza Joe says, have you heard that people who watch a lot of true crime are depressed and sad individuals? I guess I should be watching cartoons or something. What are your thoughts? Well, Liza Joe, I think anything can cause depression in a person. I've had it all my life, chronic depression. I could be sitting here watching a commercial on TV of this cute little baby walking for the first time to its mama or something that just triggers me, and I'll cry. So I know that I have asked those questions to myself. What am I putting into my brain? What am I looking at in this world inside of a world? Well, I'll tell you, I could easily stick to 100% just inspirational stuff, nourishing, uplifting stuff, but there has to be that same kind of positive, nurturing stuff that can come out of the bad. That's what I look toward. Has this affected me and made me more depressed in covering this case? I don't think so. In fact, it has brought out in me a kind of this kind of feeling. It's not an anger. It's more of, I'm going to see this. As devastating and hurtful and depressing as it is, I'm going to see this past that into what can come out of it that's good, because it's my belief system that good always comes from the bad. Not that the bad produces good. It's just when something evil and diabolical happens, God makes a way, in my opinion, in my belief. I believe it's real. That when you see something that's obviously bad, and you hear these people saying there's no winners here. I don't believe that. Maybe winners is not the word I want to use, but I believe that when you look at this terrible stuff, you can find the justice in action that is not just the judicial process, even though the judicial process is man's template of how they're able to give out the justice. And I've seen evidence left and right, up and down, of a lot of good things that's come out of this terrible, evil case. So it really all comes down to what is OKJ's mindset about how I'm doing this. Because if I'm just throwing myself into a case and just soaking in all of the information and not really having a purpose and a positive purpose for looking at it, analyzing it, researching it, making relationships in this world inside of a world, it's fruitless. And I want to bear good fruit. And I know a lot of y'all want to bear good fruit as well. I hope I'm making sense. Cindy says, I have struggled with depression most of my adult life. I get depressed about everyone's troubles. I love watching the victims get justice. Well, there you go, Cindy. And I told Mark McGarry, I know it was in 4 to 6 months when I first opened the channel. The whole thing was a crime board, but then y'all, I would have never thought in a million years that I'd be sitting here having coffee with all of y'all after 4 almost 4 years. But I told Mark McGarry, I said, I am so sick and tired of it. Always seems like the wicked prosper. And all these innocent, beautiful people get killed and murdered and maimed. And I'm so sick of it. And I want to have hope. And I said to Mark McGarry on the live stream, I said, or the pre-record, I said, because at that time it was just pre-record. I wasn't even doing live streams. I didn't even think I was going to do live streams. I said, I want to see this process play out so that I can see for myself that even though man's law is all we've got down here, I mean, this is what we got. God's not going to reach his hand down and punish Chad and Lori in this world. When they go, he definitely will. This is all we got. I'm not putting confidence in man, but this is what we got. Knowing that God establishes, ordains power. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see the adjudication process. Just as you, Cindy, you want to see justice. And sometimes justice is measured out and meted out in ways that a lot of us don't agree with. I don't agree that Lori shouldn't have been facing the death penalty, but that's just me. It was helpful. And anyone that can say it didn't matter one way or the other to them when Lori was sentenced to life in prison, it did matter. Because the first thing I was thinking of was the victims' family members and how they deserved justice. And because it was justice that was completed for their family, they got to see justice for their family. We got to see these beautiful family members of these victims receive the justice. We got to see that. And even though they are all still going through a grief process, they're probably all still traumatized about things, I have all faith and confidence that as they heal and get on with their lives, it won't be about just man's law gave them justice. It's about all the other good things that came out of it. And how ultimately, in my heart of hearts, I know Cresha has a strong faith in God. And Larry and Kay and the rest. Well, I love you, Susan Honecker. We all go through hard times and we all go through things. And all I can say on that is that, I've always been sincere. I've always been upfront. And, it is what it is. The bottom line is that we all have our own reasons for doing what we do, saying what we say, living the way we live. And it's not for me or anyone else to tell anyone else or say your motivation is this or that. You'd have to be a mind reader. And, there are people out here that believe in people reading minds. Well, guess what? I don't believe that you can read a person's mind. I think you can look at their behaviors and, use a little common sense and maybe in your own mind come to some resolution on why people do what they do. Ultimately, it comes down to one word, evil. And if it comes down to evil for all the terrible things that happens, then there's got to be another side to that, which is why do people do what they do in terms of following true crime or wanting to be there to be supportive financially or emotionally supportive to Cresha, who's a victim's family member. Because of love. Love. And I'll say this, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If anyone thinks in this world that evil is more powerful than love, they got another thing coming. Because God is love. And a person would have to believe that evil is more powerful than God Almighty, and I don't believe that. It's been shown. It ain't just about belief. I've seen it. And many of y'all have seen it. Well, Liza Joe, the legal system must be held accountable. The legal system it's been broken. Is that a surprise to anybody? Can the legal system in this world, we'll just say here in the United States, if the legal system could be fixed, first of all, it's impossible, because pure and 100% justice can only come from one place, and that's God Almighty. And mankind does the very best they can, even with the loftiest morals and ethics and with all these beautiful things in mind to try to establish laws to help people. Mankind is fallen. That's my view. There's no way that they can perfectly do anything in this world. And that includes justice. We have what we have. And Liza Joe, when you say, that's why I don't watch cartoons, because I understand what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. I think it's important that people focus in on pure things, loving things, beautiful things, like nature. But these are just my opinions. Who am I, right? I do believe that. But I am not going to sit here in my life and say, okay, all I'm going to look at is the pure and beautiful and wonderful things and be able to do that. And there's no way to do that because you've got everything else going on around you. I know what Scripture says. I do need to focus more on the good and pure. And for mostly in my life, I need to be focused and straight and narrow. I'm talking laser focus on Jesus Christ. I have Him in mind when I speak about things. And I fail every single day to articulate or communicate that. But if I communicate or articulate anything, it is that I am not perfect. I'm never going to be ever sinless in this life. Never. If I could be sinless in this life, Jesus Christ would have never had to come down here and die on the cross. So, I'm going to wrap it up on that. Because y'all just get me started on things that y'all probably don't want to hear anyway. But anyway, it's Wednesday, it's hump day, and I hope everyone has a great day. Be looking tomorrow that we are going from September 8th up to September 22nd and 23rd on Chad Daybell's Alibi. I appreciate y'all throwing things around with me and talking to me and letting me see down these roads. I can't think of it all. And when you say these things, it opens that roadway up for me to be able to go down it. And just because I go down it doesn't mean I've got the answers or that I've found something incredible. But it does help me tremendously. I can't get stuck in my own thinking so much that I'm not willing to listen to other people who absolutely, time and time again, have educated me. So, with that said, I love you all. Take care, have a great day, and keep on looking.